Hey guys, Carmine, Bianco, WagerTalk.com. We've got a special preview today. It's the Old Firm Derby. This goes on Saturday at Celtic Park. Celtic Rangers, 7:30 Eastern time in the morning, so it's a little early, but we are going to review this game. With me is Kevin Dolan, also of WagerTalk.com. Kev, thanks for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, happy to talk about Celtic. Obviously a little biased coming in talking about this game, but I'll try and keep it as neutral as I possibly can.
All right. Well, that's where we're going to start first. Listen, this is the first Old Firm Derby of the season, but the atmosphere is going to be anywhere from what it normally is. Obviously, with the pandemic and no fans or few fans in the stands, we're not going to get those 60,000 Celtic fans making noise. And then you look at it, and as far as Celtic go, this is a team that went into the international break in fine form, looking good, winning. They're a point back of Rangers in the standings, but with a game in hand, albeit. And then all of a sudden, the same thing that hits team after team after team, the coronavirus. And now you look at this team, and we look at the players that they're missing. El Hamid is missing. Bitten's missing. Ryan Christie's missing. Although they're hoping that he'll be made available for this game. They're waiting for the health authorities to rule on that one. And then Edouard as well too. He had to quarantine for 10 days in France after he went to play for the France unders there and contracted it. So it's the same thing then. He's supposed to come back today. We're filming this on Friday, but his match fitness is still questionable. And then you've got injury. So I'm not really sure what Lennon is going to do with this lineup. I know he likes that 3-5-2 lineup. What are your thoughts on this? Can they replace these guys, and does he change up this lineup?
I think he has to a degree. I think with the players the Celtic have missing here, it's going to be imperative Lennon does set up with a defence-first mindset. I think if he looks to take Rangers on with the players he has at his disposal, Celtic have barely started a week where they've had the same starting 11. So I think if he comes out looking to attack here, Rangers will be able to pick him off on the flanks because the midfield's especially weak. So the Rangers should have plenty of room to operate in the middle of the field here. And look, even though they've had that winning streak before the coronavirus came in, Celtic have looked poor. They needed two, post 90th minute goals to overcome St Johnstone, who are bottom of the table in the SPL, 2 weeks ago. So, I've been much more impressed with Rangers. Again, bless myself when I say that. But, Rangers have been playing well. And I think especially the loss of Ryan Christie here, because he is their midfield engine, in attacking midfield. With his loss, I can't see where the creativity comes from. Edouard, of course, is a good player, but he hasn't really played well this season for Celtic. I think defense first for Neil Lennon to set up here.
Yeah, the funny thing is, and we'll probably find more news out before Friday is over, but the Celtic team is looking to see what is happening with the health authorities with regards to Arsenal player Tierney, who also had to enter. And you have Mikel Arteta, for Arsenal, talking about how he needs to, and they need to release him so he can play at the Etihad against Man City. So you can't allow one guy out and quarantine the other. So it'll be interesting to see what decision comes down later today. But listen, heading into the break, 8 straight wins, 6 clean sheets. Their defense looked a lot better than it did, and it looked pretty disorganized in that Fenerbahce game that knocked them out of the Champions League. I hope I pronounced that Fenerbahce. Yeah, I can never pronounce it. They throw that C and the V together. But so you know what? Coming into this game, I thought Celtic, and then after all of this news broke out, I'm not so sure. I'll get to a selection a little later on, but let's move over to Rangers now for a minute. Listen, I like what Steven Gerrard's done so far with this squad in his second year. Their last loss was to Bayer Leverkusen in the round of 16, I think it was, 1-0. that eliminated them. But since then, they're unbeaten in 10 Premiership games, 8 wins, 2 draws, 3 Europa League qualifying games where they've outscored their opponents by an 11-1 margin. They've only allowed 4 goals so far through these 13 games. So it's one of those things where he brings this team. They love to attack. Defensively, they've like I said, they've been great, only allowing the 4 goals. Do they enter this game looking at this Celtic lineup and maybe not focusing on the fact that it's the long road ahead, the big picture, or do they look at it, this is a wounded Celtic squad and let's go out there and beat them up? I don't think that's going to happen, but 9 years in a row that this team has won the title, and Gerard would love nothing better than to beat this team, but I'm not entirely sure. The last time they played here, it was a 2-1 win for Rangers, and Celtic came into that game in fine form as well too. So I'm not really sure. What do you think with the setup here? Is it a 4-3-3 as far as Rangers go?
Yeah, and potentially they'll look to move those right and left midfielders up a bit more. I think Gerard will look at this game. Look, I agree with you wholeheartedly here. I think Rangers have continued to improve under Gerrard. And I think they're gaining more and more confidence as they see this wounded Celtic side, because even the fully fit, Celtic side, they just haven't impressed this season. As you said, Rangers did win here last year, but this is the first spot in about a decade where they'll actually expect to get something from this game. I think even last year when they won, they didn't expect to get anything from the game in particular, potentially play for a draw. But this is the first time, as I say, in a decade where they'll be like, we can beat Celtic now in their home ground. No fans, obviously a huge boost to them here. And, even though Rangers, they were held to a draw at Hibs a few weeks ago, they were dominant in that game, 19 shots to 7, 14 shots from open play. So, I just think, again, just talking about Celtic, under Brendan Rodgers, they were just a different animal. They played much better. Now, you can't really mention Brendan Rodgers because, he walked out in the middle of the season, so he's a bit of a pariah up there at Celtic Park right now. But, Neil Lennon, tactically, I'm just not sold. And obviously, you're getting dumped out of the Champions League qualifiers by teams like Ferencvárosi too. So, I think Rangers will come here looking to attack. I think they'll want to go for the 3 points, because that'll be huge. They know Celtic have that game in hand as well. So, and as we know, this potentially Celtic going for 10 in a row is massive. If they get that, they'll have all the bragging rights for the next few decades, basically.
So basically what you're saying is we're not going to see one of those club friendlies where Leicester City come to Celtic Park to play on, to take on Celtic, right?
I can't say. I think there's been a red card in each of the last 3 meetings between them. There's been a couple of penalties as well, so they're never particularly friendly affairs.
Yeah, and if anything, you could. I wonder what the odds are. I can probably look them up on Alfredo Morelos to get booked. You look at the last 2 years. Let's forget about this year so far. He's only got 2 yellows to this point through 8 games, but in the last couple of years, he's got 6 red cards and 18 yellows. The man, I understand what happened last year, in picking up the red. Celtic go ahead, player celebrates literally right in front of the Rangers fans. You can't do that. The players are going to defend their fans. They love their fans. So, he went in there and it was a heated thing, but, and looking at, and we're going to switch over to the odds right now, looking at the odds and cards, and you have to figure that there's going to be some in this. He's actually even money. Alfredo's even money to pick up a yellow card. That's almost worth it unless Gerard's had a talk with him beforehand. When I looked at this game, if you look at the odds on Bet365, there is little or nothing between these two teams. They're both 160 on the 3-way line, plus 160. The draws plus 240. The over/unders 2.5, minus 110 both ways. Even the correct scores are exactly the same. Either team to win 1-0 is plus 800. Either team to win 2-1 is plus 900, and the draw at 1-1 is the lowest odds of all of them at plus 550. I'm going to throw it to you. on this one if you have any thoughts. The one thing I think is even with the injuries and missing players, and the fact that I can't separate these two teams is I do believe we're going to see some goals scored in this game, which leads me to think the over 2.5 minus 110. But I think the better option is both teams to score and over 2.5, and you're getting plus money, plus 120 on your bet here on that one. Any thoughts on a side or a total here?
Yeah, the total is tricky for me because it really does depend just how Neil Lennon sets up his team. I think overall, though, for me, I think no matter what way you play this, you simply have to keep Rangers on side here. I was looking over a Pinnacle earlier. You can pick up Rangers plus a quarter goal at minus 150. I think that's a value play because I think worst case scenario it's a half win. I just think Celtic are so decimated that they're really going to struggle. I think they're going to play for a draw. I really do. Because they can't afford to open up to go for the win, I think for the more adventurous bettors out there, Rangers 1-0 correct score, 8-1. That looks appealing to me as well. And because of that, I would lean under just purely because I think it's a necessity for Celtic here to play defence first. And I think Lennon's going to be forced to play it tight. So, yeah, keep Rangers on side in a close, low-scoring affair for me. Again, I think Rangers just about nicked this game.
Well, because of that, we're gonna we'll have our producer put your cell phone number and your address at the bottom of the screen at the end of the show in case anyone has a bone to pick with you on that selection. They can reach out to you. But listen, thanks for doing this, and for you guys that are watching. Next Tuesday at 10 a.m. that's Eastern time. We'll be doing a live Champions League pregame show where we'll look at the 6 games that are being played, but focusing on a couple of games, Chelsea, Sevilla, and PSG and Man United. Tune in on WagerTalk TV and you'll find that live pregame show going at 10 a.m. You can head over to WagerTalk.com and you'll find myself and Kevin Dolan in the Cavers pages. We have a ton of Champions League plays up, and we'll have EPL and plays from the other 5 top leagues this weekend in soccer. And as always, guys, thanks for watching and good luck with your wagers.